like to say one thing, actually in defense of the audience, because, well, personally, my stance is I can't point out any one of the three that has, you know, the majority of the blame. And my reason is this: there are many millions more McDonald's in the world than there are Quiznos. Quiznos is very healthy, or somewhat, you know, you can consider it healthy. There's plenty more McDonald's. I'm all about analogies. I'm all about, yeah, but McDonald's are much more prevalent in the country. So, therefore, many more people eat McDonald's than they do Quiznos. That's not simply because they just don't like Quiznos, but it also has a lot to do with availability. And when you have a repeated message that, you know, when that repetition does affect a buyer's opinions and the consumer's opinions, the first time that you hear a song like Laffy Taffy, you're like, Laffy Taffy? A candy? That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. After your 50th time hearing it, you know, you start, I don't know, it just starts affecting you. And you start getting used to it because of the repetition. So that's my one stance in defense of the audience. And actually, Professor Martin and Daniel, I'll be kind of quiet if you have anything to say about that.
Well, I wanted to say I definitely think that repetition, like the mainstream music marketing that they do, that's what sells CDs. It's not really the talent that they get, because I don't think for the most part even the upper industry people necessarily believe in the value of the music that they're selling. But I think really what it comes down to is that, like, music, if we're talking about like health foods, like, okay, Quiznos, you know, came out and they're healthy, but no one necessarily wants to get it. But if you look at the competition that it produced, though, that the people who started to go get Quiznos or Subway, they had a really great marketing campaign. So people started to get Subway. Then the McDonald's and all the really, you know, other high-selling places started to make, you know, fat food, like fat-free, like food or salads, things like that, and start marketing that towards that audience. And so I think that you look at like Kanye and 50. Kanye sold more albums the first 2 weeks than 50, and he's, you know, I guess you could say a borderline socially conscious rapper. He's had Mos Def and you know, different people like comment on his tracks. So I think it needs to be hot, like good, real good, true art. If we want it to infiltrate the mainstream market, we have to make it hot, and we have to make it appeal to the audience, but we have to convince record companies that if you just plug it enough times, and if you put the same money you did into all this club music into the right music, that, you know, whatever negative impacts that, you know, create all the controversy now would pretty much fade away, and people would start to actually appreciate the value of hip-hop the same way that jazz, and the same way, you know, that other music's like that evolve. So
luckily we can't download hamburgers. That'd be a good thing.
And I guess following up on what Carol said about people being empty, if you're made of nothing in the first place, it's okay. And to go on with these food analogies, if you're getting dessert every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you eat sweets all the time, cake, ice cream, after a while you get sick of it, and you need something with substance. Even if you just, you know, you need it to live, you need it to survive, you need it to grow as you get older. You know, you look at Jennifer Lopez, who is it, Sean Combs and Sean Carter. They've all changed their names back to their original names, because after a while, J-Lo, Jay-Z, and P. Diddy, just, you know, it's not sophisticated enough. It's too much candy. It's too fluffy. It's just no substance. And in order to have substance, you have to have a message, and you have to have something that goes beyond, you know, what you've been getting, what you've been served your whole life. If you want to grow, if you want to develop, you're going to have more than you're being offered by, you know, who was talking about Soulja Boy and, you know, some of the other guys. It's just not going to work. You can't live off that.
Well, part of the problem that I see is that, again, I think it's a demographic thing, because the labels, I mean, for everybody here, in about 5 or 10 years, you're going to be outside the zone of influence as it comes to selection of music by record companies, because y'all going to be over 30. And if you're over 30, you know, the record companies are not significantly spending any time, any money, any energy or resources catering to your musical tastes. Small niche labels will, independent labels will. The major labels will maybe have a small half a dozen artists that fit that genre of music and that age demographic out of hundreds on their roster. But you know, the Chrisette Michelles and the Jill Scotts and folks like that who have tremendous talents that are singing to folks that are 30 and over, sophisticated and mature, they're not being promoted, they're not being marketed, they're not selling the same number of units as Soulja Boy and, you know, even Kanye and Jay-Z and a whole bunch of more younger audience, contemporary artists, because in the record industry now, the primary record-selling marketing demographic is basically 12 to 25. And once you're outside that zone, you're marginal. So that's obviously a major influence and factor on what gets signed, what gets funded, how much they spend on marketing and promotion, and then ultimately what sells. So it becomes really like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I say hip hop has been hijacked by the corporate, entities that it will. One thing I've seen is that, and I'll say this probably what happened about 5 years. I forgot the name of the group, but there was a group that Walmart had sunk about $16-20 million into to do an exclusive deal through their distribution channels. They gave the guys, I think, about $6 million up front, $15 million into marketing promotions. And I think, this is just my theory, I think that the major labels on their last leg and those distribution outlets such as your Best Buys, your Walmarts, those are going to be our new retail distributors for the simple fact that they have all the,
They are now.
all the so,
Yeah.
But like I said, basically just hip hop has been hijacked and they don't know what to do with it anymore, pretty much. So whatever trend is available, like you said, hey, they just got to follow up with it because they got to make their money.
And